Today we're going to be going over Dane Brugler's top 100 prospects in the 2026 NFL Draft as of February 11th, 2026. Hoping to get back to more consistent content on the channel here in the near future for those looking for an update on the cat, which I've talked about. You know, she's doing okay. It's kind of a waiting game now to see what exactly is going on and what can be done about it. But that's that update. If you were curious, I guess I'll update again as necessary, but I'm sure many of you are not that interested. So why is this important to check out? Well, I watch a lot of film for the NFL Draft every year. I watch a lot. However, up to this point, I have not seen nearly as many prospects as a guy like Dane Brugler has, who does this solely as a profession, where I guess I do as well, but I wear a couple different hats and juggle a couple different things, and I'm not as deep into it at this point. Now, hoping to catch up at some point to get to about 150 prospects that I usually do per year. Brugler does closer to like 500, which I just can't compete with, but he is one of the better evaluators in the space, someone I definitely look up to and admire and think does a great job every year assembling the beast. So check it out. I think it's worth the subscription to The Athletic just to read what Dane has to say about some of these prospects. So let's jump into it. So for some of this, I'll also give you my opinion from the players that I've watched and some of the things I like about them or potentially dislike. We'll go over some of the rankings and also maybe learn a bit about some of the players outside of the top 50. So we'll kick things off with Arvell Reese, linebacker from Ohio State. He's probably going to end up being an edge rusher. So this is definitely an interesting one. I also think he's got a great argument to be the number one player in the draft. I think guys like Sonny Styles are right there as well. I think Jeremiah Love is in that conversation. Fernando Mendoza, who is number two, we'll get to. I had obviously an incredible season. Really like him, but Reese was the number one prospect on his midseason top 50 and has not changed anything. So you do have the problem with Reese is that we haven't seen him enough as an edge rusher to say that he's going to be a slam dunk home run off the edge. And in terms of being, a linebacker, well, he's not perfect there either because the coverage chops are not incredible. He's kind of been more of a spy, just using that overall athleticism to his advantage more so than, feeling the game and kind of reading keys as a linebacker and having a good feel for coverage, which you can really only get from reps and being athletic and being a good mover. Now, Reese, I think, can develop into these things. I think he's incredible against the run. I find his strength to be as good as any linebacker I have ever seen. He's that level of just pure power player. His play strength is unreal. I also think his closing speed's great. I have no problem with him being ranked number one. As we get to Mendoza at number two, the projected and expected number one overall pick. Yeah, he had a great season. People want to talk about the physical traits not wowing. I do agree that everything else is great, but Mendoza, I think, is a plus athlete for his size. He's 6'5", 225. He's not Josh Allen, right? But he's got decent enough wheels to be a playmaker when he needs to be as a runner. Think of more of the Patrick Mahomes type of athleticism more than, the Lamar Jackson, obviously, or Josh Allen, or think of a guy. I think he's more athletic than Jared Goff, who he's often compared to. He can move a little bit, and the arm isn't awful either. I think he's got at least an average to above average arm, and then the everything else makes him an easy prospect to like quite a bit. So no problem with him at number two as well. As we get to Jeremiah Love at number three, I've said he's a top three player in the draft. He is explosive as hell. He's got good vision. He's got good size. He checks so many boxes, and for some teams, Love will have a higher draft grade than Ashton Jeanty last year. Yeah, it's easy to point to a higher upside just because I think Love is a better athlete. Doesn't quite have the same contact balance that Jeanty had because that was a generational trait for Jeanty. His contact balance was unbelievable. But Love has unbelievable long speed as well at a good size. This can be the bell cow running back that is also capable of some of the most explosive plays you're likely to see. Great player. As we get to Caleb Downs at 4, Now, this is an interesting one because people are kind of all over the map on Caleb Downs, and I put out a tweet of what I thought to be the general consensus is that Downs is not a generational player, but is a really, really good player, really solid. He's going to be a good pro, even if he's never one of the best in the league. That's the opinion, it seems, of a lot of people that I follow and think highly of, including Daniel Jeremiah. Lance Zierlein just released his big board basically, and Caleb Downs was not even a top 10 player for him. But I think I'm probably closer to Brugler on this because I think Caleb Downs is an incredible player. Now, I do potentially question if he's actually as versatile as some have said because we really haven't seen that very much. And the production is also not that good. But from everything you hear about Downs as a locker room guy, as a communicator, and then the play, I think, is also incredible. And he's got the prestige, the pedigree. This was also Josh Downs' brother, by the way. Some don't know that, weirdly enough. But yeah, this is Josh Downs' brother. He, from the moment he stepped on campus at Alabama, was a difference maker. And to start on a Nick Saban defense as a freshman is incredibly impressive. Between being, an elite level tackler who just knows where to be all the time. His downhill trigger, to me, shows someone that is quite a good athlete because, as we've talked about with linebackers, mostly on the channel, I would say, you could only play as fast as your mind will let you. Well, Caleb Downs can play at 100 miles per hour because his mind puts him in the correct position to make a play routinely. Now, I don't know if he's going to be a single high guy. I think he can thrive from too high, but I think his best impact is made in the box. I think he can play the overhang role. Can he hang as a slot corner? Like, if you're going to play a Nick Eamon, Worry, Kyle Hamilton type role, yes, I think that's a possibility. He's not really a true corner, obviously, but I think can play in the slot, but he's at his best in the box. I think he's going to be a really, really quality player. I wouldn't say generational because I don't really like using that term unless it's truly a generational player. I don't think Caleb Downs is a once in a generation. I think he's once in every few years. He's one of the better safeties I can ever remember watching. Really, really good player. But some question if he's truly a top 10 guy in the class, and he plays a lesser valued draft position. All it takes is one team for this guy to go top 5, but I think that's probably unlikely unless maybe you start to have the conversation with the Giants at 5. But really good player. Brugler has him at 4. I think Jeremiah has him on the back end or out of his top 10. Zierlein's the same. And there are also others that share a similar feeling about him. As we get to Sonny Styles, who I think is also definitely a top 5 player in this class. He's got incredible size. As I've said, I think he's basically as good of a linebacker as you're ever going to see for an off-ball player. It's not like Arvell Reese where he's going to be a hybrid edge. Not to say that he wouldn't be able to do that, but it's a weird projection because we haven't seen that at all. Yeah, he started at Ohio State as a safety, played safety in high school, and just kept on growing. So he's like 6'4", 6'5", 240 pounds that can really, really move, and he's incredible downhill, and I think has the chops to play in coverage, even if he's not necessarily a proven playmaker yet. I think his coverage instincts are actually pretty good, and he moves well enough to say that he's someone that, as he grows and plays more and more linebacker, he's going to be able to excel in that way. I'm not sure if he's going to be Fred Warner back there, but I think he has that type of athleticism that says he has a future as a Pro Bowler at least. I mean, I think he's incredible. Now for another guy people are all over the map on, Texas Tech's David Bailey. Now, some think he could go as high as number 2 in the draft. Others question whether he's even a top 15 or 20 player in this draft. And it's a weird draft, and he's a weird player, to be honest, because he's a little bit undersized. He has a thin lower half, which is typically not great for a defensive lineman. And he doesn't have the most bend of an edge rusher that is smaller. Typically the smaller guys are like pretty bendy, which is a super high trait or super highly valued trait because it allows you to, of course, bend, run the arc, take a short path to the quarterback. That's why, ankle flexion is part of that bend. It's super important. And you see the high-level guys are typically quite bendy, and they can move their bodies like a Brian Burns, even Myles Garrett at his size, who's just a freak alien. Like, bend is super important for an edge rusher, and you'd think that David Bailey would have it, and it's not really necessarily the case. He's kind of more of a true speed rusher. And even though, you can say he improved from 2024, I still don't really believe he's a very good run defender. So I think the projection on him gets a little bit weird because, yeah, he is a great speed rusher. That worked less against some of the better offensive tackles, like when he played Utah, for example, in 2025. So I think I question the projection a little bit with David Bailey, and I think it's important to do these things. I think he's quite a good player, and I mean, the numbers say he's quite a good player, but I question a little bit how that's going to translate. That's not to say that he's not worth being ranked here at number 6. It's just starts to get a little bit weird with David Bailey. The production was great. College production does not always translate. In fact, it often does not translate among edge rushers. But Bailey's got potential. I'm not down on him. I'm just trying to say, okay, here's the type of player he is. Here are some areas of improvement. As we get to Mansour Delane, another kind of weird prospect because this is supposedly CB1 in this draft, had a great season at LSU. He's kind of like the David Bailey of cornerbacks because he is undersized. He's got shorter arms, about maybe 30 inches. Very important at corner. Getting hands on a receiver to redirect, reroute, and stifle at the line of scrimmage, sometimes super important, especially for press man heavy schemes. So Delane maybe not going to test the best. We'll have to see on that. The arm length is certainly going to come in short, and he's just overall not the biggest. All that to say, it's not just typically the CB1 that we see in a draft class, but the tape is really good, which is why I'm high on Mansour Delane, because I value that, especially playing the SEC against good receivers. Delane not only held his own, but was the best draft eligible defensive back in college football in 2025, or at least corner. Caleb Downs is a very different player, but both are defensive backs, I suppose. Delane's really good. Seeing him in the top 10 is quite cool as we get to Spencer Fano at 8. Yeah, another kind of weird player for me because I think the athletic upside's pretty good. He moves really, really well, and that shows up not only as a pass blocker, but as a run blocker as well. See how the play strength holds up in the NFL, but I think quite a good prospect overall as we get to Ruben Bain at number 9. Bain is another weird prospect. Stop me if you've heard this before, because he is 6'3", about 280. There are some that think he's going to be an interior defensive lineman and will be listed for a number of teams as an interior defensive lineman, but I think this is an edge. Bain is powerful. He is disruptive. He is elite against the run and has game record potential because we've seen him take over games. And his competition, it seems like the better he's playing, the better the opponent happens to be. It's like this guy, when the lights are bright, he shows up and can take over the game. Now, he's going to have short arms. That's going to be a measurement concern. I don't mind that as much because in the trenches, it's a leverage game. And I know he plays with extraordinary effort and leverage. He's got okay bend for his size, but it's not anything spectacular. There are some concerns, especially with the ankle flexion, which is, again, just about being able to twist your body into these kind of bendy positions so you can take quick routes to the quarterback. But, I mean, with that in mind, there are some concerns that maybe he's going to be a pressure over production type of guy, but I still value a guy that can put pressure on the quarterback and be elite against the run. I think Bain's a very good prospect and worthy of a top 10 player. There are some that are like, why is Bain not the number 2 or 3 player in this class? Why is he down here at 9? It is the projection thing of saying, is this going to work in the NFL? Is he going to be stifled early against NFL offensive tackles? We'll see. At number 10, we have Carnell Tate, who I think is an awesome player. I think he can play X even as well, even if Dane thinks he's going to be a playmaking Z in the NFL. I don't see any reason why he can't play the X. He's got really good size. He's got good ability to win on the outside. Yes, I understand that, playing next or on the other side of Jeremiah Smith, it's easy to say, okay, Tate is the Z, Jeremiah Smith is the X. But I think Tate has the ability to be a wide receiver 1 type in the NFL. He is great with the ball in the air and has really improved as a route runner. Again, has ideal size. He's a phenomenal player. Number 10 seems to be a good spot. Francis Maui-Noah at 11. Big fan of his. There are a lot that think he's going to move inside to play guard. I think he can hang it right tackle. He's one of these prospects that's just solid as hell. Number 12, Jordan Tyson. I think this is a good spot for him because he has some injury concerns, but I think the tape is really, really good. I agree. I don't necessarily know if he has absolutely elite speed. I think the size is good enough, and he certainly plays big. I think he has great ability to separate and get open. He is physical at the top of his routes. But again, I think he's got enough speed to, stress a defense by stretching the field vertically. I think he's a really, really solid player. And I feel like he's going to run maybe better than Dane is expecting. It won't be a combine darling with his size and speed, but I feel like the size and speed is certainly more than good enough. I think this is a guy that is going to be around 4.5 and maybe even lower than that. Number 13, another player that is just solid as hell, Vega Ioane from Penn State. Best true guard in this class. I completely agree. He's just a solid as hell prospect. Good in all phases of playing offensive line, pass pro, run blocking, people mover. Big fan of number 14, Mekhi Lemon. So, yeah, the problem with Lemon is size and speed. He was more explosive in 2024. So if you go back and watch that, you can see higher level athleticism than what was on tape in 2025. But in 2025, he showed he can win in other ways. It doesn't really involve running by you. He is, I would say, obviously like the quicker than fast, but he is very quick. His short area movement skills are really good. I think he's got a great feel for, reading defensive back leverage, and he gets open as a result. He's a really solid route runner. He knows how to exploit blind spots like I talk about all the time with Mekhi Lemon. He can go up and get the football like he's much bigger than a 5'11", 195-pound player. I think he's going to be very successful in the NFL. He is like this Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jackson Smith, and Jigba archetype where they're not maybe the fastest player in the world, but they are definitely good athletes who are incredibly strong and tough and don't drop the ball. At number 15, Keldrick Falk. A lot of people love him as a player. Some think he's going to end up going in the top 10. It wouldn't shock me because his size is so elite. He's so good against the run. It's just, what is the potential like as a pass rusher? It's hard to say because you need more than just being big and fairly athletic in order to be a good pass rusher. You've got to be able to develop at least a move to be successful, and there's not a ton there right now. But we'll see how he develops. It's going to be important to go to the right guy, right defensive line coach that can help develop him. Number 16, Jermod McCoy. Man, I think he's better than the 16th best player in this class. He didn't play in 2025. In 2024, it is very, very good. It's not perfect. Would like to see him find the ball in the air a little bit more, but it's really, really good. He's been a playmaker. He's able to stay in phase. If he ends up testing at the combine, I'm going to be really interested to see what those numbers say, but the medicals will, of course, be the most important part. Number 17 is Caden Proctor. Yeah, this guy's so up and down, man. Like, I think he's got potential, obviously, because the size and athleticism are insane. So, yeah, I think playing on time is going to be certainly important for Caden Proctor. And what does that mean? It's about timing with your hands. Because when you're not on time, like Will Campbell wasn't recently, at least in the Super Bowl and really throughout the playoffs, if your punch timing is not there, you're going to potentially get destroyed in pass pro. And also, hand placement's really important. even as a run blocker as well. There are things that Caden Proctor has that others simply will not ever be able to compare to. The size and athleticism is something you simply cannot teach. I think he'd be better if he played lighter. Doesn't have to be 360, but doesn't have to be 315. Somewhere in the 340-pound range, I think would be great for him. Would help his lateral movement skills, which are somewhat lacking right now. He struggles to redirect a little bit, but someone's going to take a chance on the upside, and Caden Proctor could end up going high. Like, this could be an offensive tackle class that, if you're going to include Maui Noah as a tackle, which I think you should, we might end up seeing 4 go in the top 12 picks, which seems kind of crazy, but with his athleticism, and especially if they start to go early, like, let's say the Cardinals take a tackle, the Giants are in play to take a tackle, the Browns are in play to take a tackle, could we not see Fano, Maui Noah, Caden Proctor, Monroe Freeling in the top 12 picks? I don't think it's impossible, even though I typically have Proctor a little bit further down the board. I might need to kind of correct that a little bit. I may have gone too far in the wrong direction because the upside is really good. I am worried that he's never going to figure it out because this was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school that never really seemed to put it all together at Alabama. Slightly concerning. But if he just keeps getting better and better and better, again, he has things that you can't teach. So you got to a player I like a lot, Avion Terrell at 18. A little bit undersized, of course, but he plays tough, physical, great at punching the ball out, 8 forced fumbles. It's not random. It's a legitimately learned and showcased skill by Avion Terrell. He can play on the outside, even having, like nickel size. He can play on the outside. He's a great player. And I'm really, really excited to see what his NFL career looks like. Again, he's a little bit smaller, but I kind of view Avion Terrell like I view Mekhi Lemon. I don't really care so much about the size when they play the way that they do. Number 19 is Akeem Mesidor. Another tough evaluation for me because he is really old. He's going to be a 25-year-old rookie. Has some injury history as well, of course. But the tape is really good. It looks like a polished prospect. And he should be. He's going to be a 25-year-old rookie. But at least he looks that way. Like, he looks like a polished pass rusher. Yeah, I agree with all this. Well-timed hands. Has a number of different moves and counters he can go to. Nice player. Number 20 is Kenyon Sadiq. Tight end from Oregon. Another player I'm actually quite high on. His route running ability is not incredible, but he dealt with some injuries in 2025, as a lot of players do. It's not saying it, you can't worry about the injury, the games where he wasn't 100% because he's not going to be 100% for every game in the NFL. I get that, but I think we do have to factor it in when we're talking about him as a prospect. If he's not playing at 100%, he might not look like what 100% Kenyon Sadiq looks like, which can be an incredible impact player. I think he is quite a good competitive blocker. And when healthy, I think he showed that he can take on some of these edge rushers. And I think he's certainly better against second and third level players, but can block on the move. I don't know if teams are going to want him to stay in line very much, but he is certainly a mismatch. Really good athlete. He's just too fast for linebackers. It's just simply what it is. They can't cover him. He's too big for defensive backs. He's awesome. Monroe Freeling. We've talked about him a lot over the past couple of months. And I feel like he's still probably not getting enough talk because he is 6'7", 315. It's like ideal tackle size. It's ideal. The arms are long enough, and he is a really, really good athlete. Nimble feet, can really, really move. So I think if you're looking at the long-term upside, it's pretty extraordinary. Like, I kind of feel better about Monroe Freeling as a prospect than I do about Caden Proctor. I think Freeling's got, good coveted size. He's not nearly as heavy as Proctor, but he moves so well. Still learning, I think still somewhat of a raw tackle prospect, but the flashes are there of dominance. And he's had some stretches where he's simply, you can't get to the quarterback on him. The pass pro is so good. And when he tests like crazy at the Combine, which I'll be live for, of course, probably on YouTube, but certainly on twitch.tv/Bengal, linked as always in the description. think Monroe Freeling's probably going to get even more hype than this. So is this a player that could go and, end up going top 10? Not impossible at all, in my opinion. KC Concepcion at 22. He's an awesome playmaker. Awesome. The hands aren't that good. Yeah, drops the ball. Not really a big contested catch guy, but is a playmaker with the ball in his hands. Can win down the field. Can beat press. Also agree that the A&M quarterback stinks. Got so much pushback for talking about Marcel Reed during the college football regular season this year. Oh, he's not your Heisman favorite? Yeah, no, because I've watched him, unfortunately. Great athlete, though. Dylan Thieneman at 23, the Purdue transfer. This is a high ranking, but I like it, especially in the second half of the season. This guy was really, really good. And could he be a first-round pick? It's not impossible. I mean, 23rd best player in the draft here, according to Dane Brugler. That's somebody that definitely could sneak into the back end of the first round, even as a safety. Fun prospect. I'm taking a long time with a lot of these guys, but I know more about these players because I've really watched them. Whereas we're going to get to some of the players near the back end of the top 100, I have not got to their film yet. As we get to Caleb Banks, somebody that I might be way higher on than 24. Missed a lot of 2025, came back for like 3 games, and even though there wasn't really production there, still was really good in my opinion. He's got powerful hands, and he's got size that you just cannot teach. And 2024, he looked like a first-round pick. I had him in my way too early 2025 or 2026 NFL mock draft. I like Caleb Banks a lot as a player. And in a weaker defensive tackle class, it's actually DT1 for Brugler, I believe. I think he probably is going to finish as my defensive tackle 1, but he might go off the board a lot earlier than you're used to seeing in a lot of these mock drafts because of the position he plays and because of the potential he has. It is rare to be able to find a defensive tackle that's this big that can actually rush the quarterback a little bit. And I'll say top 10 seems a little bit rich right now, but it would not be the most shocking thing in the world, especially in this draft class. We'll see, though. I think a lot are going to have the defensive tackles listed very differently when you get to Caden McDonald, who we'll talk about in a minute, I'm sure. Lee Hunter is in that conversation. Peter Woods is a really intriguing player we've talked about a lot on this channel. For 25, Denzel Boston. There's Caden McDonald. Denzel Boston, kind of a weird guy for me because I like receivers that can separate. And Denzel Boston is not an elite separator. He's a jump ball guy. I've been burned on these guys before. Like, that's the problem for me, is when I see Denzel Boston, I see the archetype of receiver that doesn't always work in the NFL, doesn't always translate. Not to say that he's Keon Coleman, but that type of player that doesn't really separate, but can go up and get the ball. I think Denzel Boston's a better contested catch player than Keon Coleman was, who made some incredible plays, but the consistency was not there. Boston's more consistent. He's going to be a solid X-style receiver or a big slot, maybe even in an offense, but I question his ability to separate. We'll see if that changes. Based on his size and speed, he's really going to have to be a technician in order to get open, so we'll see on that. Caden McDonald at 26. I think he's one of the best nose tackles in this draft. He's a great run defender. And, yeah, in play for DT1. Omar Cooper at 27. Love to see it because I'm really high on Omar Cooper as a player. Not to say that he's going to be an absolute superstar, but he is solid and reliable. He's great after the catch. He catches the football. Awesome player. Number 28 is Colton Hood, who I might even be a little bit higher on than 28. Obviously good size, speed. He's physical. I agree that he could have been better down in Mobile at the Senior Bowl, but I think the tape in 2025 was really good. He stepped in for Jermod McCoy and was awesome. Number 29 is Cassius Howell, another weird evaluation for me because, man, he is such a good athlete. He's so explosive, so fast, undersized, not great against the run, short arms. These are things that the NFL doesn't really highly covet. Older prospect, redshirt senior. But, I mean, I think you can make a really good argument that Cassius Howell is the best speed rusher in this draft. in terms of translatable skills. And that's not to take anything away from David Bailey. I just think Howell does the things that I value at a little bit of a higher level. Like, he is every bit as explosive, if not even more. He is way bendier. I value these things, and if they're both going to be subpar against the run, give me the guy that I think can end up being a better pass rusher in the NFL. So we'll see what my big board ends up looking like, but I like Cassius Howell about as much as I like David Bailey. So how do you factor that in? Because Howell's, to me, not a top 10 player, but Bailey's listed here at number 6. Number 30 is Caleb Lomu, the left tackle for Utah. Yeah, good size, good athlete. You worry similarly about the play strength and whether or not he's going to be able to be a people mover in the ground game. But yeah, he's certainly a good player, and I think he's probably going to be taken inside the top 45, but not the top 25. So, I mean, 30 seems about right. I think he ends up going outside of the first. If I had to bet, he's, one of these guys that's one of the first offensive linemen off the board on day 2. Get to a player I really like, Emmanuel McNeil Warren. Great size. He's listed a little bit smaller, I think, on ESPN, but Brugler here typically has better measurements, 6'3", 210. He is an enforcer, but man, I also really love this guy as a cover player. I think he's got great ball skills. He's a playmaker, and I mean, I can agree with the take on and tackle finishing skills. Like, you do want your safeties to be sometimes a little bit more under control and to wrap up and make the play, but also having a player that you can visibly see receivers be afraid to catch the ball around, that's cool too. So he's a super fun player. I'd love to see him go in the first round or, top of round 2. CJ Allen at 32, another player I'm quite high on. Dealt with some injuries in 2025, but really solid athlete, good instincts, and I think someone that is a day 1 starting weak side linebacker, which I think is pretty valuable. And also in a 3-4, I wouldn't mind him playing inside linebacker. I don't think that's a problem. Peter Woods at 33. This is such a tough eval because I watched him in 2024. I watched it for the 2023 season. I watched the 2024 season. This was someone that was a standout player. When you're watching other Clemson defensive linemen, Peter Woods stood out. They kind of moved him all around. He played off the edge a little bit. He obviously played, 3 technique, 5 technique, things you'd think of a typical 6'3", 310-pound player. Clemson really moved him around over the past couple of years, but 2025 was a down year. And I want to believe that's a function of the environment. It was just a really bad Clemson team, and I think maybe that led to Peter Woods not playing at his top level. I think the potential is still elite. To me, he's the Caden Proctor of defensive tackles, where the athleticism and size are great. The pedigree is great. We've seen him be awesome, which I think is more than you can say of Caden Proctor, really. And we saw him be consistently awesome when he was a freshman and even as a sophomore. I want to see him get back to that and take the next step up and not stay where he is or get worse. Number 34 is Ty Simpson. Man, another weird evaluation because Ty Simpson, really after the first week of the season, was awesome. But in terms of how I view him as a prospect, I guess he was injured during the second half a little bit. Man, he really was not very good. But even when healthy, I don't know that he's someone that can really drive the football. He's a little bit undersized. I don't know how accurate 6'2", 210 is, but he seems slight. And something I don't particularly love is when I see quarterback prospects putting their absolute everything into every throw. I like someone that's a little bit more of an easy thrower, and they get easy velocity coming out of their hand. The ball just kind of jumps. Ty Simpson's not there. I think he's got a chance to go round 1 because he plays quarterback, and if teams have him as QB2, he's got a chance to go round 1. I mean, I was not high on Jackson Dart as a prospect. He gets into the first round. I wasn't high on Tyler Shuck as a prospect. He goes at number 40. Both looked very good at times as rookies, by the way. So take that for what it's worth. Wasn't particularly high on those players. Ty Simpson at times I thought could have been one of the first QBs off the board. Inside the top 10 potentially, right? Go back to see some of my mock drafts. It seems like that was the way it was going. But the play really, really dipped off. And for somebody that is so inexperienced in terms of actually starting, I really don't like seeing so much variance. I would like to see a little bit more consistency, and I would have liked to see another year from him in college to see what we really have. He didn't want to transfer from Alabama, which is respectable, but at the same time, it's tough to know how good he actually is as a prospect, because we've seen him be very up and down. And I don't know how. I don't know that the NFL is really going to value the size and the arm. It's interesting. Number 35 is R. Mason Thomas, another guy who's undersized. Yeah, he's a great athlete, great pass rusher. I think he's going to be a designated pass rusher. Shorter arms, like Cassius Howell. How is this guy going to hold up against the run? Guys that can't hold up against the run are not 3-down starters. So how do you value a player like that? Because his arms are not going to get longer. You think his ability to stack and shed blocks is not necessarily going to get much better. It's hard to say. When he can use that leverage, it's great. But if an offensive lineman is taking that first step into him and making contact first, he can get driven. So that's not amazing. TJ Parker, another weird evaluation. Why? He was so good last year. And in 2025, not so much. He's got really good size. He's good enough against the run. He showed at the Senior Bowl that he's capable of being the great pass rusher that we want him to be, especially with that long arm, but was not nearly consistent enough at all. 37 is Christian Miller from Georgia. I need to see more of him. Really have not seen a ton, but he's got good overall size. I think he's one of the defensive tackles in this class that can actually rush the quarterback as well as defend the run. So he's going to be valuable. It's just how high do you take a player like this? Ooh, number 38 is San Diego State's Chris Johnson. This is a fun one. Something you like to see from your corners is them being ultra competitive. I think Chris Johnson is that. Certainly a guy that helped himself at the Senior Bowl. Yeah, I think in play to be one of the first corners off the board. As we get to a player that I like Zion Young more than a lot of the designated pass rusher types, because I think he can be a 3-down player. He's got good overall size. He's got good power. He's got ability to play against the run. Still developing, of course, but a lot of these guys are, and we're to the back end of the top 50 now. These guys are not going to be polished players the way that some of the guys at the top of the class are, and even then, maybe not so much. But I think Young's got 3-down potential. I would value him ahead of some of the edge rushers, at least, that I don't know if they're going to be able to be 3-down guys. And that's not to say, by the way, that just being undersized means you can't be a productive and good NFL player or a 3-down player. Look at Nick Bonito. There are absolutely outliers, but the NFL really, really values the size. And if you can't play against the run, you're not going to be on the field except on like 3rd downs. At number 40, we have D'Angelo Pons, a player I like a lot. He's awesome. If he were bigger, he'd be in play to be the first corner off the board, ahead of Mansour Delane, but he's just so small. You don't really see the 173 so much. Like, that might as well say 185. He plays tough against the run. He tackles. It's not really a problem. He's super competitive. I don't think he cares who he's covering. He's going to play him really well. He's going to make plays. But I think in the NFL, the size will show up to be a little bit more of a concern. But what's stopping him from being one of the better slot corners in the league? I don't think anything. Number 41 is Brandon Cisse. He's going to light up the combine. We've talked about that before. He is probably going to have one of the top 5 best 40 times at the combine, I would bet. He can really, really run. I would say, if you just want him to play man-to-man, it really isn't an issue. But him actually having a good feel for zone coverage and reading the quarterback, a little bit more of a question right now. Blake Miller is at 42. I think he could end up moving inside to guard. He plays right tackle currently for Clemson. He's a good player, could end up going in the first round. Chase Besantis at 43. He's probably the best pass protecting offensive guard in this class. I don't like him as much as Vega Ioane in total, but I think he's a really, really good pass protector, and that's extremely valuable. Is this somebody that could sneak into the first round? I think it's not impossible. Number 44 is Max Iheanacho. This is a very interesting one because he's got great size. He is inexperienced playing tackle, but has the athleticism to be a quick riser. Someone that can start at right tackle in the NFL. I think he's got that skill set. It's just about developing. And his length is incredible, and that was showcased at the Senior Bowl. As we get to number 45, Jeremy Bernard. You know, a lot of people were questioning when Jeremy Bernard was getting the ball so much more than Ryan Williams, but the guy is so consistent. Yeah, he's just a good football player. He's a solid, reliable guy that you can get the football to. He can get open enough. He catches the football. I don't really think he has the makeup of a first-round player. He's just not that type of athlete. But man, as a day two guy that can instantly come in and catch like 50 or 60 balls a year, maybe even more than that in the future, this is a fun guy to add to a receiving core because he's just going to be a reliable option. You know, like think about a Jacoby Myers type. Another receiver here, Chris Brazzell of Tennessee. Yeah, kind of like the typical Tennessee receiver, but Brazzell's a little bit different to me because he can actually sink his hips and he moves like someone that isn't a lanky 6'5", 200 pounds. He's got these reps where he snaps off routes where you're like, okay, there might be a Tennessee caliber NFL receiver. I don't think Chris Brazzell is Jalen Hyatt, but of course he did play at Tennessee. So yeah, everything is a hitch or a go pretty much, or a deep option. Not exactly translatable, but I think he's athletic enough and has shown that he can snap off these routes. He might be able to run more of a complete tree than what was shown at Tennessee. Could this end up being a first-round guy? He's got elite size and speed. Denver at the back end of the first round, I think, is not impossible. Jake Galday at 47, another player I like a lot, really good size. I think he's got really good overall athleticism. And in a really strong linebacker class, Galday is a big reason why this class is so strong. He's a really good player. Wow, very high on Eli Stowers. Yeah, he's got good overall size. He's a move tight end, good athlete. I don't think he's quite on the level of athlete as a Kenyon Sadiq, and I don't think he's as good of a player nearly, which I guess is shown by the ranking here. I'd be interested to see what Eli Stowers' NFL career looks like. I don't think he's going to be asked to play in line. So I guess to compare him to another Vanderbilt player, could this be Jordan Matthews in the NFL? Number 49, Malachi Fields. Yeah, he's awesome. He's got generally pretty good speed. He's got incredible size and is a real ball winner down the field. Seen him make some incredible catches. Was great at the Senior Bowl. I think this is another guy. You're looking at Denver, looking at San Francisco at the back end of the first round. It doesn't feel impossible. I think the Senior Bowl really pushed Malachi Fields up, but the tape was already good. Number 50 is Davison Igbinosun. Really physical press man corner, a little bit grabby. Flat to combine 16 times over the past couple of seasons. But his size and athleticism, I think, are going to be valuable to teams. It's just about him getting coached up. But there is something here with Davison Igbinosun. Worth a shot, for sure. We'll see if he can kind of clean things up a little bit. Jadarian Price, RB2, another Notre Dame guy. I like the running back class more than I thought I would. I don't know if there are... I mean, I know there are no prospects close to Jeremiah Love, but I think there are some solid contributors. NFL is running back by committee now anyways. Jadarian Price is really, really good. I don't know that he would finish as my RB2. We're going to see. Because I like Seth McGowan from Kentucky. I think has really good size and speed and has shown some power as a runner. Mike Washington from Arkansas, I think, is really underrated. A lot of people like Jonah Coleman from Washington. Emmett Johnson from Nebraska gets some love. And I think it's an interesting point to note how little times he's touched, or how few times he's touched the ball because of a guy like Jeremiah Love, where maybe he enters the NFL and it's like a Josh Jacobs type of deal where he has a lot of tread left on the tires so that he's fresh, right? And we saw Alvin Kamara was, criminally underused in college and becomes this great NFL player. Could Jadarian Price be similar? Not impossible. Number 52 is a player I actually quite like. Derek Moore from Michigan. Again, I think he's got very good size. He has shown the ability to win consistently as a pass rusher. So even though he hasn't been the best run defender up to this point in his career, he's got the size to say that he can develop into being at least average in that regard. Number 53, another player I like a lot. Chris Bell from Louisville, unfortunately, torn ACL late in the year, but I think he's a first-round type of talent. He's got great size, great athleticism, can win vertically, is elite after the catch. I do question what he's going to look like, following the torn ACL, but this is a game-changing type of player that I think people are going to throw out the Deebo Samuel comparisons. He's not quite, the hybrid running back that Deebo Samuel was, but I think Bell is a better vertical receiver than Deebo Samuel was coming out of South Carolina. I like him a lot. Torn ACL is really frustrating, but I think he's a stud player. Number 54 is Max Clare. Transferred to Ohio State. He was productive enough, and you're not going to see a ton of production from most college tight ends. Ohio State had a lot of mouths to feed. Clare has overall good size and good athleticism. His best football might be ahead of him, which is essentially what this says. Number 55 is Zakee Wheatley from Penn State. Yeah, this is a decent spot for him because he is a really good athlete. It's a really good safety class. I think you probably rank him ahead of A.J. Halsey because of his athleticism. But I might prefer a Genesis Smith from Arizona just because he's such a good athlete. Wheatley's quite good. And I think he's a more consistent player on tape, especially as a tackler. But this is definitely a fun player and a fun ranking. I thought he would be a little bit lower than this, but I like Zakee Wheatley. So that's quite nice. Anthony Hill Jr. Love Ant Hill. 6'3", 240. Has been the leader of this Texas defense. Really good speed overall. A little bit stiff on tape. But, again, great blitzer. He's able to make some plays in coverage, but I wouldn't say he looks the most comfortable out there. And sometimes I think has a tendency to carry routes slightly too long. But I really think he's going to end up being a solid player in an attacking 3-4. He can play inside and blitz, or as a 4-3, maybe he can play Sam or even Will and work the outside. And again, come as a blitzer. I think that's his best trait, is how good he is at just firing downhill. Kind of reminds me of Kenneth Murray coming out of Oklahoma a little bit. Gabe Akis, I believe it is, or Akis. He's a good player. Another guy that I think, because of his size, has 3-down potential, is flashed as a pass rusher. I think he would be one of the guys I would target on day 2 that I think can potentially rotate in right away and earn a starting job in the somewhat near future. And here is a safety we actually just talked about, funnily enough. Did not realize he would be brought up so soon after, but yeah, A.J. Halsey's really, really good player. I don't know that he's the fastest or most athletic safety, but I think reads the game well, has had some big games, has some big plays, and is just, I think, a traditional starting NFL strong safety. Keith Abney, I think I might end up having a little bit of a higher grade on. Completely takes away slants. He's competitive again, and these are absolutely traits I value of a corner. Somebody that can crash down and stop anything underneath, but also has the speed to carry routes down the field. I'm definitely a fan. Lee Hunter at 60. I think Jeremiah had him a lot higher. But Lee Hunter definitely flashed at the Senior Bowl, made some plays, big nose tackle size. I want to see the pad level get down a little bit, but that's you can actually see that here with tall pads and inconsistent pocket push. But he's flashed as a rusher. If he can just be more consistent and play with leverage, he's going to end up being a better player. Number 61, Antonio Williams. I'm a big Antonio Williams fan. I feel like he really has not had the attention over the past couple of years at Clemson, but he's been quite a good player. And another guy that I think maybe won't become an NFL star, but I think someone that is really solid, is a good athlete, can win down the field, and I think getting out of this Clemson offense will certainly do him well as we get to a really fun player, Ted Hurst from Georgia State. Man, didn't know about him until James Foster, who I've collabed with on the channel before, brought Ted Hurst to my attention. And he tweeted out about him. I'm like, who is Ted Hurst? 6'3", 210, explosive speed down the field. I think he's going to end up testing quite well. He is a ball winner with the football in the air. He's a solid route runner. I think he's someone that once you see him play better competition, you're going to see him rise to that level. Caleb Tiernan, a potential guard here, tackle from Northwestern. I think his size suggests he can definitely stick a tackle, but we'll see if everything else dictates that. Jacob Rodriguez at 64. I mean, he was just the ultimate playmaker for Texas Tech, was constantly making plays, and I think there is room to question the size and speed and what that's going to look like in the NFL, but his playmaking ability was certainly special for Texas Tech. Elijah Surratt at 65. Some people really don't like Surratt. I really do not think he's a good athlete at all in terms of explosiveness, and I don't know what the separation is going to look like. He was very, very productive. I think he's great in ways that, are not necessarily confined to being a good athlete. Like, he's physical, he's tough, he doesn't drop the ball. It's just, is he going to be able to separate in the NFL? I think he might end up being a big slot. We'll see. Josiah Trotter at 65. Love Josiah Trotter. Question the cover ability right now, but good size, good athlete, great against the run, and of course, NFL pedigree as well with his dad and brother. Number 67 is a player I have not watched. Kieran Crawford from Auburn, 6'4", 255. NFL scouts watching the Auburn defensive line to see Keldrick Falk often left with a new appreciation for Crawford. Now, I have seen him. I have not watched him explicitly, and that's something I like to do, where you're only focused on one guy. Seems or feels undersized at times on tape, especially once bigger bodies latch him, but he explodes off the ball. His effort consistently pops as a pass rusher, run defender, and when dropping in coverage. Certainly noticed him watching Auburn, but I think that's it. It merits going back and actually watching him to see what type of player he truly is. I wish I could say more about him right now. At number 68, denied Dennis Sutton. Honestly, I wish he played like his size dictated him. I feel like he's not as stout, and the pass rush bag is not deep. So, man, I question what his NFL future looks like. He's got the size and athleticism to say that he can be quite a good player. I just want to see more of it, and maybe you can say that playing on this crap Penn State team in 2025 is a reason why he was not necessarily motivated to play at his top level. As we get to a player, I quite like. He's got things that you can't teach. Darrell Jackson Jr. of Florida State, excellent size. I think a very good athlete for his size. I think 35, 36-inch arms, I heard, is what it's supposed to be, which is absolutely elite. I think he's going to be a great run defender, but I also have seen him flash as a pass rusher, leading me to believe that there is more there to be unlocked and untapped. Kyle Lewis at 70. Yeah, he's been a player that has kind of popped up more throughout the offseason process. Certainly a little bit more undersized, kind of like the hybrid safety linebacker, money backer that we've seen in recent years get some prominence in an NFL defense. So whether he's going to play weak side linebacker in the NFL or overhang, we'll have to see. But I think he's good enough against the run despite being undersized. and is quite good in coverage for a linebacker. Big Citrus at 71. Yeah, great run defender. What is he going to do as a pass rusher? He is a very good nose tackle in a class of very good nose tackles. At number 72 is Genesis Smith. Can't tackle at all, but man, he is explosive and rangy as hell. Really, really value that. And this has been made on Twitter a lot. I've even said this as well. If you're a single high free safety, you don't necessarily need to be an elite tackler. You're the last line of defense. Sure, I get that. But the ball hawking, rangy ability in pass coverage is the most valuable thing you can do. Tackling is important, not the most important thing. And a guy like Kalen Bullock could not tackle at USC. I mean, nobody on those Alex Grinch defenses could, it would seem. But man, Genesis Smith is really bad on tape as a tackler. But I love the elite twitch. So I think he's above like a Dadrian Taylor Demerson as a prospect, remembering his Texas Tech film. It's kind of like the last single high guy I could think of. Genesis Smith can play single high free safety. We don't see as much of that in the NFL nowadays, but he's certainly an athlete that is capable of doing that. Devin Moore was often injured at Florida, but very good size and speed, and yeah, a lot of injuries. I like the overall athletic profile. Man, we have not really seen him very much. Brennan Thompson, the former Longhorn at 74. He might run the fastest 40 of anybody at the combine. There you go. He ran track at Texas, transferred to Texas A&M, then transferred to Mississippi State. The speed translates. If you watched him, I would say really more at Mississippi State this past year, you could see it. Didn't really play a ton at Texas and made some plays at Texas, some at Texas A&M, but really came into his own at Mississippi State. He gets the ball, he runs by you. That's kind of what happens. He has legit NFL plus speed. So he's a problem for any defense just because of that, because he can stretch you vertically so easily. But if you get him the ball, he can also destroy pursuit angles and run by you. And yeah, I think he might end up being a top 50 player. So the potential is great. Get him in the right spot. Like, you know who would be a really fun fit? The Buffalo Bills with Brennan Thompson on day 2. That could be fun. Ooh, Zach Branch at 75. Branch is another interesting case because he's also undersized, kind of more of a gadget receiver. Does he have the long speed? His twitch is unbelievable. Is he a receiver? Is he just a guy that you design some touches to? I don't know. I think the upside is a Rashid Shaheed, but I think he's also better with the football in his hands. I don't know. Maybe Rashid Shaheed's not the right call. I think this is like Kadarius Toney level player, but he's somewhere in between Rashid Shaheed, Kadarius Toney, Malachi Corley. It's design touches. He can make some special things happen. Is he a true receiver? There's a spectrum for Zach Branch where he's shown to be the best player on the field sometimes at USC before transferring to Georgia. What is his NFL career going to look like? I genuinely have no idea, but he is a special talent with the ball in his hands, no question. Keontae Scott at 76. He's an interesting eval as well because he's had some awesome games where I've seen Keontae Scott and I've been like, wow, who is this from Miami? And then it was, okay, this guy looks like the best player on the field, and that's with Akeem Ezador. That's with Ruben Bain. That's with Ahmad Moten. I mean, those are all front seven players or defensive linemen. But Keontae Scott has at times looked like the best player on the field, not consistent enough. So I am interested to see what his NFL role ends up being, whether it's at safety, whether it's at slot corner. If you can get some more consistency out of Keontae Scott, I think he actually could be a star. We shall see. And another guy, I kind of love Traden Stukes. So it's funny, we talked about, Auburn a little bit earlier with Kieron Crawford. I mean, noticed, but never really watched. When watching Genesis Smith, Traden Stukes, he made some plays. And it's tougher to ignore a defensive back making an incredible interception. And he's had some crazy ones. The ball skills are absolutely elite. He's got good size. He's got good athleticism. And I think could play not only nickel corner, but safety in the NFL. I'm excited to see his NFL future because he gets better and better and better. LT Overton at 78. Yeah, LT's weird because he's got highly coveted size. He's a decent athlete, not consistent enough, and kind of at times looks like a day 3 player more than a first round or second round pick or a third round pick even. So another guy you'd love to see more consistency, but he's got the size and athleticism. Is he an edge? Is he an interior defensive lineman? That's kind of the question as well for him. 79 is Emmanuel Pregnon. Feels a little bit low because I think Pregnon is such a solid player. He's really good as a pass protector. He is good as a run blocker as well. Really improved with transferring to Oregon. And yeah, I guess a little bit of an older prospect. He should be dominant, but he was. I think he's still in play to be a first-round type of player. But if he goes somewhere closer to day 3, like the 79th overall pick would suggest, although I got to remind you guys, it's not a mock draft. It's a big board. So when you rank however many guards are in here, Pregnon's still near the top. He probably ends up going higher than this, I would say. But just because teams need guards and teams are paying guards a lot, you don't really want to pay guards a lot. You'd like to draft and have them start, but it's easier said than done to do that. And I think the breakout age for guard is a little bit later, really for a lot of offensive linemen. Romello Height at 80. Another weird eval, man. He's a designated pass rusher that is super explosive, super sudden, but is he just a DPR? Like, that's kind of what I'm thinking. So what's the value on that? I think it is valuable, but you're not going to take a guy that's playing 97 to 100% of the snaps like Max Crosby. He might only play like 30. Question that. Jalen Farmer of Kentucky, I have not watched. Using his long arms and leg drive, Farmer can fit up and dump defenders in the run game. Despite some pad level issues, he has a stout anchor and heavy punch and pass pro. He's quick to replace his hands and recover if he's initially beaten. He looks like an NFL starter. Well, he's certainly got the size at 6'5", 318. Sounds powerful. That'll be an interesting player to watch. 82 is Garrett Nussmeier. Stop me if you've heard this before, but another interesting eval because he's got like the Ty Simpson type of size, it would seem. And that's just not that big. He doesn't have the craziest arm in the world, but I think it is better than a lot of people say. And he's not really someone that can move very well, it would appear. I think he is a super high floor backup that can potentially be a starter. I think the arm is good enough to where he can make NFL throws into tight windows. Again, looking for some more consistency for him, and I think health is a big component of that. He was not healthy, so he's a tough player to study because he was playing hurt and wasn't always making great decisions and making great plays. So got to limit turnovers to be an NFL QB. Is Jake Slaughter the first true center on the list? Watched him in 2024. Have not seen 2025. Arguably the top center in the class. Slaughter knows how to lose slowly in pass pro and get angles blocked in the run game. He's a do-your-job type of guy, and his veteran makeup will be attractive for teams in the center market. When I was watching centers earlier in the year, I guess like Connor Lew was the real standout from Auburn. And Slaughter had hype following 2024. It didn't really seem like anybody on the Florida offensive line, like Barber as well, they didn't really live up to the billing. I'm excited to see what they've looked like in 2025, but center, it's a valuable position. It's just not a super highly drafted position. I am quite interested to see when the first center goes off the board. Number 84 is Jennings Dunker. Yeah, I think he's definitely a guard. He's not really a mover. He's strong and tough as hell. Totally agree. Man, he really cannot move. Like, I agree he's a mauler, but he's got really slow feet. I don't think he's got a chance to play tackle. I think, honestly, you might find a home for him at center where he is, big and tough. But, I mean, I guess Ryan Jensen's your absolute best case scenario. Am I making that comp because of the red hair? Maybe. Number 85. Keyshawn Elliott. Have not watched him explicitly. 6'2", 235. With his ability to pick up pre-snap clues, Elliott diagnoses quickly versus the run and has the speed to chase down plays. He was up and down in coverage on tape, but can hold up in zone and communicates well. His production and character are extra feathers in his cap. Sounds like a player that would end up getting drafted high if this is in the notes. Number 86 is a player we just briefly talked about, Austin Barber. Yeah, could potentially move inside to guard. Watched him in 2024. Thought he had the potential to be a top 50 player. I guess 2025 was not quite as good, but absolutely does have the size and athleticism. Justin Joly from NC State. Yeah, I actually like the Jonnu Smith type of comp here. Joly's really good. I would say that he's closer to tight end 2 for me than Eli Stowers is, probably. And Stowers was right there with Max Clare. I don't know. I would say that he's obviously got the size to stay in line, even though he's a little bit shorter. I think he really does have starter potential. Number 88 is Chandler Rivers, slot corner in the NFL. Have watched him, was impressed. I think he is quite good, but will end up being a slot in the NFL. But we have so many of these guys nowadays where they're undersized and they're fast, physical, tough playmakers in college. They're instant plug-and-play starters in the slot for me. And I would say think of really any of the guys that we've talked about, but could this guy be Drew Phillips tomorrow? Probably could be. Billy Schrauth, I have seen a little bit of. Billy Schrauth is definitely interesting. I'd be curious to see if a team wants to try him at center as well, but he looked really good at times at guard. So this, I think, could end up being a day one starting guard in the NFL. These Notre Dame guys are built different. Manny, Malik Muhammad at number 90. Hook 'em horns. I like Manny Muhammad. I think he's a good enough athlete. He can certainly trigger downhill with the ball in the air. I question the long speed a little bit. And I think he plays physical at times. But again, the long speed for me is something that has shown up. And I don't love that as a boundary corner. Number 91 is Michael Trigg. I was wondering if he was going to crack the top 100 because his potential is as good as any tight end in this draft, really. He is incredible sometimes with the ball in the air. He's made some incredible one-handed catches. Not just that, he's made some incredible ones. I've tweeted some out over the course of the year. Michael Trigg, if you look at just his highlights, you'd think he's like a top 5 player in the draft. There are some insane off-the-field concerns with Michael Trigg. Not that he's done anything individually really bad. It's just that there are some serious character stuff or character concerns with Trigg that, when do you want to take a chance on a guy like this? But the upside, I think, is great. F tight end, you're looking for him. Michael Trigg could end up being great. Emmett Johnson cracks the top 100. Wow. At number 92, with his agile cutting skills, Johnson is explosive laterally and has the sharp footwork and shifty body movements to give defenders the slip. Yeah, this is an interesting one for me. I don't really find Emmett Johnson to be especially explosive. He's made some big plays for Nebraska, there's no question, and can catch the football out of the backfield. I think he's got the makings of a third down back in the NFL. I'd be curious to see if he ever becomes a bulk starter, but obviously very productive at Nebraska. Number 93 is a player I've heard a lot about, have not watched yet, Malachi Lawrence from UCF. He's got very good size and apparently very good athleticism. I guess we're looking for better run defense. But the frame and the athleticism is apparently quite good. So I'm excited to get to him. I love watching edge rushers. It's my favorite position to scout. Reggie Virgil from Texas Tech at number 94. Silky smooth athlete with the long striding speed and adequate ball skills that will give him a fighting chance to be a productive outside receiver in the NFL. His versatility on special teams coverages will increase his value. That's the type of range that we're talking about now, is guys that will make an impact on special teams as a gunner, potentially as a return man, but this seems like probably more so as a gunner with his skill set. Reggie Virgil's made some plays for Texas Tech, there's no question. I think that offense would have benefited from a better quarterback. God, it was really, really bad. But Virgil was still able to make plays anyway. Yeah, certainly a player I like in this draft. I don't know that he would have made my top 100, but yeah, good athlete and probably would benefit from playing with a better QB. I mean, there's no question about that. So I might be slightly lower than number 94 on him just because I'd like to see more from the quarterback, and maybe I'm holding that against Reggie Virgil where I shouldn't be. Chris McClellan, Missouri Dynasty standout. Yeah, great size. Have not actually seen him. I've only played with him in college football 26. But apparently another good defensive tackle in a class full of them. Trey Zune, center from A&M. I definitely have noticed him with Basantis. College left tackle who projects best inside at center. Solid athlete who understands positional leverage. It will only help that NFL scouts say he's an off-the-charts type of kid who can play any of the 5 offensive line positions in a pinch. Guess you're hoping for Elton Jenkins. Bryce Betcher from Oregon. Same range and awareness that made Betcher an elite center fielder on Oregon's baseball team shows on the football field. Uses opportunistic eyes to read and drive without hesitation. See ball, get ball defender who is wired the right way. He's another tough, competitive guy. Knew he was a baseball standout as well. So I like to see these multi-sport athletes. I think it shows that, you are skilled and disciplined to be good at a number of different things at once. And I don't know if you guys saw at the Senior Bowl, he absolutely rocked his teammate, Star Thomas from Tennessee, I think it was. And you like to see the linebackers get fired up, right? Even though he caught a punch, I think, from Star Thomas after that. He's not the one to try. But, man, yeah. As a culture setter down the board, I think can end up being a starter. This is a fun player to include in the top 100. Cage Casey was a tackle that is or has moved inside to guard already. And what I mean by that is I think at the Senior Bowl, he worked out a lot as a guard. But when I've seen him, he's played tackle for Boise State. So if he's played guard for them, I have not seen that. But projects with his size and arm length to move inside to guard and movement abilities. Not crazy. Another player I like a lot. This is finishing the top 100. Bryce Lance, brother of Trey Lance. He's got great size and ability to win down the field. He is another ball winner. He is this jump ball freak. 40-inch vertical. I think he's going to test well. He is an awesome prospect. That doesn't really get the love maybe because North Dakota State, who is now joining FBS, joining the Mountain West, right? Cole Payton, their quarterback, is a fun one as well. This was one of the best combos in college football, Cole Payton and Bryce Lance. Worth watching if you haven't seen it. Bryce Lance is awesome. Rayshon Benny at 100 finishes the top 100. Quiet winner of Senior Bowl week. I have not watched him. Waited his turn behind Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant before becoming a starter. Fierce hands and lower body quickness help him deconstruct blocks and impact the play. So this is one of those guys that seems like he's going to be interesting to watch because he was just stuck behind 2 top 12 picks or top 13 picks. I think Grant was he 14? I keep climbing up. I think he was 13. Either way, he was stuck behind 2 top 15 picks in the NFL draft from a year ago. So you've only seen 1 year of him, it would seem. Maybe his best football is ahead of him, and he's a secret hidden gem. I'll be interested to watch him and find out what that looks like. Saw some reps from the Senior Bowl, and that's good, but you still like to see actual football outside of the one-on-one. So I'm excited to go back in. This was the not the mock draft. This was the top 100 for Dane Brugler. Long video, but a lot to talk about. I wanted to be thorough and give my kind of ideas on some of these players that I've seen as well, and also show you what someone who is at the top of the industry thinks in the case of Dane Brugler. Maybe we'll get him on the channel at some point here in the near future. But thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.